Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another video. This is going to be a self-swing analysis of my own progress working on fixing my early extension, trying to save the goats. I've had a little bit of, I don't know if I want to call it a breakthrough, but just kind of have been made aware of something here in the last few days, and I'm having some success, I think, in reviewing the video. And what I'm watching for is kind of the curve of the spine. Whoa. So this angle, I noticed that a lot of times that impact my spine is a lot of curve, and in my right shoulder is getting pretty high, and my right elbow is still extending a lot because it's a long ways from the ball, and I just am feeling like I'm not really been able to make some of the changes I want to make. Well, then I watched a video about the pelvis, okay, and how it tilts in the swing, and this has been kind of eye-opening for me. And so what you want to think about is you've got your femur, and then there's another one here on the other side of my left leg, and then you got your spine, and then the pelvis is in between, okay? And the pelvis can tilt, and what I'm talking about is anterior and posterior tilt, okay? So if this is your pelvis, we're talking about how it kind of rotates, and I'm gonna imagine that there is a laser beam coming out of your belt loop, right? So here's my belt loop. Imagine there's a laser beam pointing straight out. That's going to kind of be my point of reference. So when you tilt the pelvis, there are kind of two extremes that I'm going to refer to. One of them is called anterior pelvic tilt. That's where your lower back kind of curves like this, and the butt kind of moves out in this direction, and then you also kind of have this movement here on the front side of your legs. So again, I'm flexing my lower back, I'm flexing my hip thrusters to turn the pelvis this way. So then, if you go back to the laser beam, it would be moving down. So let's get all this stuff. So when you tilt the pelvis anterior, your butt sticks out, your back has a little flex in the lower back, and your pelvis angle goes down that direction. I'm going to refer to that as the shortstop posture. So think about baseball players, right? When you're a shortstop and you're ready for the pitch and you're ready to field a ground ball, you get into a defensive ready position. Similar thing in basketball, where you're ready to react, and you kind of arch your lower back, your legs are ready to move, your butt sticks out. That is anterior. I'm going to call that shortstop posture, okay? The opposite would be posterior, and that would be exactly the opposite, where you're sucking up into your abdominals and you're sucking down on your hamstrings. So then you get more rounding of the lower back. It's kind of like the old man posture, as I'm going to refer to it, right? If you were to tuck your butt underneath your back, again, sucking up into the abdominals, stretching the hamstrings, then your butt moves this direction. So if you think about the goat hump, right, that's kind of what you're doing there. And if you are listening to this video, just stand up for a second and try to feel yourself. So watch what I'm doing here. I'm just flexing. So there's anterior, there's posterior. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, but hopefully it's helpful. That's the humping motion, so to speak. And now the club here is going to help explain it. Tilting up, posterior, tilting down, anterior. Up, posterior. Okay, so that movement, I want you to just do that for a second to gain some awareness of how you are moving and tilting your hips. Okay, so now, what got me into this was I was watching a video from George Gankus about posture, and he talks about how when you set up, if you have an S posture like this, where you see how the lower back is flat, and the butt is out, there's a lot of curve in here. So this is anterior tilt, shortstop posture. And a lot of people who are in sports want to get into an athletic setup. And there's certainly nothing wrong with being athletic, but you can, if you struggle with early extension, it is very likely that this is what your setup looks like, and it is contributing to your problem. Now, on the other end, this is very, very exaggerated, but you can see how I have tilted my hips. If we just even go back to where I was at before, right there. So look at the difference here of my belt line going up. Okay, and I'm tucked my butt under. I'm flexing my core, my abdominals, and my hamstring to tuck it up and under, and my lower back is very rounded. This would be an extreme example of posterior pelvic tilt or old man posture. Okay, so there's anterior again, there's posterior. Now, kind of settling into the middle. Now, I've tried, per the video, to move a little bit more towards posterior tilt from where I started. And what I'm feeling is that when I get to the top, you don't want to forget about it, and you actually want to move down. So you can see here, I'm actually feeling as if I'm going into anterior, right? That same look as the shortstop posture. Okay, so then what that does for me, now this is very exaggerated movements, but what it does for me is it kind of puts me in a position, so I'm trying to just maintain that flex in my lower back. And here at impact, you can see that my spine angle is a lot better than where it used to be. And this curving or rounding of the spine is much better, and you can see that my right elbow has a little bit of softness to it. My hands are ahead, my hips are open. This is doing a lot of what I think are potentially good things for my early extension pattern. So again, the idea is that you start with more of this tucked under feeling, and again, for the sake of a drill and exaggerating, try it like this, where you start old man, and then when you make the transition and you come down, feel as if you are rolling right there into anterior, into shortstop. So you start old man and you roll into shortstop, coming down into impact. Okay, so I think I'll hit one more here just to give you an idea. Tucked under, anterior. See that? Okay, so that right there, I'm displaying what the early extension pattern is like, where you push forward, the hip comes forward, the right knee comes forward. That's kind of an exaggeration of how I feel. I think I actually really did it there. When I actually went to hit the ball, you can see right there. Oh, look at that. This is very exaggerated, but look at how upright my belt loop is there. So I've really gone posterior. And I think that's a part of my early extension pattern. So again, the fix is to start. Now this isn't insane, right? I'm not as exaggerated as I was before. Just a little bit more tucked under. And then right there, you can see how I've driven. I've got much more of a straight line here in my lower back. And I'm trying to really feel that I'm keeping that flex in my lower spine. So now let's watch this video here on the left. This was actually on the golf course trying to implement this. Okay, let's take it down into impact. I think you can see that I've actually done a much, much better job of trying to maintain this spine angle. My left hip is riding against the line. Now the camera angle is a little shifted, but I do think that this feeling of trying to keep that posterior. Now, if we go back, again, the exaggeration is not necessarily real, right? I'm not in that crazy grandpa posture. And when I transition down, I don't go as far into anterior tilt as I maybe, was doing over here. But I think you can see that the feeling is really helping me keep my hips back and my spine angle intact. So just something I've been experimenting with and working on, and hopefully if you have some early extension, just try to be aware of how your pelvis is working and tilting, and try that extreme exaggeration of going from grandpa at setup to shortstop in the downswing. And I hope that helps. Thanks a lot. Bye.